Hello, honeys in hunks. We got a new episode flying in this week, and we got more playoff coverage coming at you. Jade, how has your basketball week been?
It's been okay. I did take the Heat in that series, so that was a little bit rough. But there are some other things going on that we will talk about later in the show that are keeping me positive after I lost my first series in my bracket in the first round.
You know that they got swept in the amount of time it took the Brooklyn Nets and the Celtics to play 2 games. That's how fast they got swept. That's brutal. Shay, have you stayed interest with this playoff since the Thunder aren't in it?
Yeah, I've watched some decent first quarters, second quarters, and a lot of the games seem to kind of be predictable by halftime.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've been watching the second halves instead of the first halves, just like
that's fair.
I really should do that because a lot of them are just kind of like I tried to watch like the last Brooklyn Celtics game and it was just like really sad to watch.
Don't watch that series. Like that one win. That one win took 50 points from Jason Tatum. So
yeah,
I take that win as a grain of salt with that. But so this week, this episode, we're going to be continuing our playoff coverage, still at the first round, and then also go through a lengthy chat and how fans have turned to utter garbage. Okay, so we're going to start with Western Conference 1-8. We got the Jazz. Jade, are the Jazz a little bit of a letdown in the playoffs? Because, I mean, they're up 3-1, but this young Memphis team that is not experienced is putting up a fight against an experienced Utah team.
Well, I mean, first of all, for me, the way you use experience matters. They're not experienced in super deep playoff runs as this unit. Mitchell's young, Gobert, hasn't been in a ton of playoffs. So I think that factors in. But I also have to keep thinking back to our good friend Chaka. And he's been writing about how good this Grizzlies team was going to be for a year. Like legitimately for a year. He's been saying, pay attention. Yeah. I'm going to make you sound really smart because this team is legit. And I think the performance they're putting up against Utah as the 8th seed proves that in spades.
Prove that it's fate. I mean, they got a bunch of weapons for it. And I mean, last night, I think it was, or the other night, Joe Ingles only had like 4 points. Yeah. And it wasn't his all-around stat line. So a little surprise there. Shay, is there anything that Memphis can do that can keep their season alive? Is there certain players that need to step up even more? Does Morant have to show some new leadership, even though he's only a sophomore?
I mean, always, on these young teams, there needs to be like a clear leader that maybe we're not quite seeing here. But honestly, I don't think that this isn't the Grizzlies' time yet. Like, we're seeing the beginning of a very young, very talented team, but like this isn't their year. Like, no,
it's not their turn yet. They got
exactly.
some dues to pay first, which means losing in the playoffs.
Exactly. Like, they're gonna be a team we're talking about for a little while, so like it makes sense that they made the first round, but like, yeah,
I mean, fine. They show up when they need to be in clutch.
Yeah.
All right. So then we got a little bit more of an interesting series. We got Suns versus Lakers. So once again, Anthony Davis is injured. Wow. And he has come to think he has a pessimistic view that he'll play, as he put it. And Shay, can the Lakers win against this second-seeded Suns team in the playoff? Yeah, that was awesome. Second-seeded Suns team.
Yeah, like, honestly, I mean, we all know that we're all kind of hoping for the Suns to pull this one out. And I don't know. Like, I don't know if the Lakers are going to be able to succeed in this one. Like, I'm kind of loving it too.
Jade, how about you? What are you thinking with the AD pessimism?
I mean, I took the Suns in this matchup in my bracket before any of this happened. I think that if you were paying attention, none of this is surprising. I mean, I did one fantasy league where AD dropped to 5th overall because he is injured all the time. In my league that I did with my boyfriend, I drafted AD because, it's a different league, different picks. And he ended up trading me mid-season for Jason Tatum and Chris Boucher. And I was like, yes. And then the next day, he's like, I kind of feel bad about this. I'm like, don't feel bad. Don't feel bad at all. This is going to be fine for me. And because AD was hurt through the end of the season, he missed the playoffs in our league. I missed the playoffs too. But he missed the 8 playoffs specifically because AD was not available. His points were not available. His stats were not available down the stretch. So I think if you're paying attention, it is evident that it's possible that the Lakers buckle here. It is very much within the realm of possibility. And that's the series. I'm like, if I win nothing else for the rest of the playoffs, if I pick the Suns and over the Lakers and they win, I'm good. I'm good for whatever else happens in the playoffs. I'll be happy with that.
I can't even imagine what the NBA is going to be like without LeBron in the playoffs. Not even the Lakers, just LeBron. Just LeBron.
I mean, it happened the year before last. But no, we survived. But the universe didn't end.
Yeah, but he wasn't expected to win a title that year.
True. He shouldn't have been expected to win a title this year.
Well, no. I mean, yes. I mean, we've said our takes on that. Look back on the catalog on that one if you want to hear that one again. But all right, so Jade, I'm going to ask you this since you have the Suns taking it. The Suns also have their own injury bug right now with Chris Paul. It's that damn shoulder that's always been getting it. Is he more crucial than Anthony Davis is, or does Anthony Davis is a little bit more crucial?
That's a really hard question at this exact juncture. Because I don't like. I think they relate to each other. If Chris Paul is available and Anthony Davis isn't, I think the Suns are going to win. Vice versa, I think the Lakers are going to win. I feel like they kind of cancel each other out right now. And the last game when Chris Paul was back, he looked a lot better. He looked a lot better in the last game that they played. And if he's back on the upswing while Anthony Davis is out, I think in that context, Anthony Davis is more important to the Lakers.
That's fair. I can kind of agree with that one. Just a question I just thought of now. So today, Lakers have said they want to continue their relationship in their future with Andre Drummond. What does that mean for Montrezl Harrell? Because he hasn't been getting a lot of playing time right now, and he's only on that 1-year contract.
He's moving again.
He's gonna
be in a different uniform next season.
Where do we think he's gonna be, Shay?
No idea.
Right? I'm like, I don't know.
I got him going Miami. He's gonna go to another big name city, I think. He should go to Dallas.
Dallas might be a good fit.
Everyone should go to Dallas.
Yes, Dallas
needs a piece. Dallas desperately needs a piece. Dallas needs to move on from Porzingis. I mean, honestly,
it doesn't help that I'm playing 2K and I have Mavs team. It's Timberwolves and Mavs. That's all it is.
But legitimately though, in terms of teams who are right there to make that next step and need a piece, the Mavs are absolutely at the top of that list right now.
No, you're very true on that.
It's easy for them to come up. Especially because we like them. We want to see Luka win stuff, and he needs a running. I don't know if Montrezl Harrell is the guy. I'm wondering if he's starting. I don't know. I think they need more than he can offer because he's playing off the bench. I think they need a starter. The Mavs.
Yeah, that's very true.
That's what I was gonna say.
starter would be nice on that point. But next series, we had a nice little chat on that one. We got the Nuggets, and then we got Portland. So series is tied. This is another interesting too. What do the Nuggets have to do, Shay, or who else needs to step up to close this series out? I ask you this because your boy Jamal Murray is no longer.
I know. And I really like part of me like doesn't want to play like what if, you know what I mean? Like, but I'm like, what if he was healthy?
It's hard
like,
not to. It's
like,
hard not
you know,
to.
because like Jamal Murray really showed up last year in the playoffs. And so it's just like it is kind of hard to be like, oh, like what if he was here? Like, would the Nuggets be like beating the Blazers? Like, you know, they are missing that element. And so it's just like it's very hard. I'm not really sure. I missed the last game. I keep forgetting which games are on which night, and so like
It's totally
That's
confusing.
what Google is for.
I know, and I'm
Selection
literally
report.
like I Google NBA like all the time, and I'm like,
Me too.
oh, I missed that. Like
NBA
how did I miss
schedule,
that
NBA
game?
standings, NBA news. Those are probably
Lecture
my top
report.
three.
I tell you, getting those instant updates help
Yeah.
out so much. But Jade,
But
Shay?
very fast. I was just gonna say, like, I think the defense is where, like, on a lot of these games, like, it just like there's no defense being played, which is just like if one of the teams from like even like Nets Celtics, right? Like obviously the Celtics are also struggling offensively, but if they were to bring up a like a little bit of their defense to hold the Nets, we would actually have a ball game. And that's kind of the way I feel with like Nuggets Blazers too, is like a lot of these matches are just so offensively efficient, but like the defense is just there's no defense being played and these matchups in the league anymore. It's just so frustrating because like yeah, I love watching the ball go through the hoop, but I also love when a defender just gets into the mentality, you know, of whoever is bringing the ball down or whoever's about to score and then ruins it. Like there's something just beautiful about defense. So yeah, that's probably where I think the Nuggets as a whole just need to like reassess their defense.
See, and I think it's exactly the opposite for the Nuggets.
Really?
I questioned this when Jamal Murray went out, and I'm questioning it more now. I did watch the last game. Jokic looks tired.
Oh.
He looks tired. He looks gassed. And I questioned as soon as Jamal Murray went out because they had their run last year, but they needed Murray to do it.
Right.
And I wondered, are they going to be able to take another playoff step without him? And I questioned it. I questioned it so much that I took the Trailblazers in that series.
Really?
Because with that combination of things and Damian Lillard, like I'm not going to bet against Damian Lillard right now.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just about to ask you this, Jade. Are we going to see Dame time right now? Because this spells literally pretty much every playoff series he's had.
Yes.
And, like, are we going to see another closeout shot?
I think we probably will because it's Damian Lillard. But the thing that I'm seeing when I'm watching the Trailblazers is they might not need it.
Yeah.
It might not be absolutely necessary because they're playing well. Nurkic is playing well. McCollum and Dame are both playing well. Norman Powell has picked up right where he left off with the Raptors and some. So, like, they are a better team than they were last season, and they still have Damian Lillard. And Patrick and I were talking about this series just the other day when the last game was on, and he made all of his comments, and I said, you know what, though? I think Damian Lillard has magic. And he's like, yeah.
I'm not going to lie. I'm surprised that the Blazers pulled that trade off because Gary Trent Jr. was a big piece for them now and for their future too.
Well, and I think that's why the Raptors picked him up, right? Because we have that development system. He does not look like a rookie when he plays. Like, I was really impressed with him. And we got 6 years younger on that trade.
It worked out for both teams age-wise too. I do have a soft spot for Gary Trent Jr. One reason because of his dad played with the Timberwolves for a couple of years, and he was kind of a good person in the community too. But
I will say this, And it's going to come back to my little bit of Raptors frustration, but I'm going to say it because we were watching that game with the Trailblazers, and I can't remember if it was the ESPN crew or the TNT guys. I can't remember which network it was on, but they were calling the game and they were saying, "Oh, all these guys that have this playoff experience: Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum, blah, blah." Like, you don't mention Norman Powell, the guy that has a ring.
The one guy that has a ring.
That's the guy you're going to leave out of the "they've been there before" conversation.
That's actually a really good point because you're like, he's actually been through not just like the first round, and not just
second round, not the third, like all the way.
He's gotten to the conference finals, which I still think that was a kind of a right place, right time for them, because I remember it was Houston and Golden State. That's the series before. And I'm like, that was really the real Western Conference finals. But moving on. So the last matchup we got in the West, we got Mavericks, Clippers. So we'll start off with some Clipper stuff. So Paul George is actually showing that he is playoff P. He's got 3 straight games with 20 plus points. He's been doing some great rebounding and defense. Jade, are we seeing him again? Are we seeing Indiana Paul George?
I mean, I think it's hard to argue against those statistics. And everybody knew he had to show up this season. He had to show up after last season, and besides the drama from the Clippers, but Paul George's individual performances in the playoffs last year were not very good. And if you're going to declare yourself playoff P, you got to show up. And I think this was kind of his last chance to save face. Otherwise, it wouldn't have mattered what he did next year if he didn't show up this year. I think he would have been kind of, sure, playoff P, he would have never got over the joke. He would never got over the joke if he didn't have good performances in the playoffs this year. The fact that the Clippers are having such a struggle still handling the Mavericks is a different question, I think, of the way the roster is put together. And I said this back at the time, too, when Kawhi said, I want to play with him. Why are we letting players pick their teammates? That's coaches' jobs. That's scouts' jobs. That's not his job. And I think
input, yes.
But move heaven and earth because Kawhi wants to play with that guy? Not smart. And I think we're starting to see the results of that, because even though playoff Paul is showing up, there's not a lot of criticism on Kawhi either. They're both doing their thing. The Mavs have been a handful for them. And I picked the Clippers in this series. And, I would have preferred to pick the Mavs because I like the Mavs, but, this is about winning my bracket. So I picked the Clippers. And it's not looking great. So even with him showing up, I think they're going to have, if they don't get through this round, and I would say through this next round as well, because they were built to win a championship, they're going to have some serious looks at their roster in the offseason.
Both LA teams, I think, have to do a long look in the mirror and take off the makeup and see what they really look like.
I like that. Because it's makeup, it's superstars, it's names.
Yep.
That's great.
Maybelline. Maybe she's born with it. Maybe it's Maybelline. Who knows?
Maybe. I mean, this
maybe
really
it's
has
the playoffs.
Questioning
I don't know
if Kawhi and or Paul George are gonna still be Clippers next season.
You have to,
because it's they're not a good matchup together. They
don't complement each other.
They're essentially the same player.
Yeah.
Exactly.
When you see them on separate teams, they play the same position. Yeah. Thank you, Kevin. You're right, Kevin.
That is so true.
100%. If
the Clippers,
Clippers Jazz play too much of a team ball for the Clippers if they can get through. Right. Okay. Great chat with that West Coast. And now let's hit that Eastern Conference. So, let's talk about the Mavs for a second, because Mavs have some big deals coming up. We got a little bit of a nagging injury issue for Luka in his neck. They were saying Rick Carlisle went on saying that Luka was having a lot of discomfort and pain, and he could not look over one of his shoulders. So
I missed that. Yeah.
Yeah, that just was last night. I took a screenshot of it. I follow the Mavs on Instagram. But
Woohoo.
Jade, what can the Mavs accomplish with Luka dealing a neck injury? Like I think he's questionable right now.
The unicorn's got to step up. He has to step up. He is scared. He is scared to play down low. Like, I don't know if you've been watching the games, but he's on the perimeter the whole time. He's not moving without the ball. He's just standing there.
He doesn't want to handle Zubac.
He has to do better, and I get it. I think it's mental. His legs have been hurt so many times. When that happens over and over again, it makes sense that you lose confidence in your body. But he at least has to try. He has to try. If he tries and can't do it, fine. But they
Oh my gosh.
we're getting consensus from our regulars that
right, it's
Luka,
like
it's done. And I think that's probably true.
Nasty.
I think that's probably true. They need to be able to, if Luka doesn't play the next game, which I think is still questionable whether or not he's going to play, Kristaps Porzingis has to get them a game without it.
Can he?
He has to give him time to get. If he doesn't, if he can't, my bracket's going to be intact.
Is he the Wiggins of big men when it comes to heart, to talent?
I don't think that he is. I think it's the injuries. I think he's been injured in similar places so many times that I can't imagine it not weighing on you mentally eventually.
Yeah.
Like, and it's a shame. Like, he's 7 feet tall. He's so capable. He has so much talent. I think he's got the yips. And he either, to your question about heart, maybe there is some similarity there, because whether you focus in and push yourself through that or not is all about heart.
Yeah.
And it's starting to be a real question of whether or not he can do that.
Which I'm kind of surprised, because when he was in New York, like, he had a bit of grit to him. He had some attitude. I remember seeing his big highlights, and he was, even as like a rookie and as like a second-year player, he wasn't afraid of getting in people's faces. So
right.
Well,
and now he's like less aggressive.
My computer is being weird with my keyboard, so I'm going to look up. I think I want to see how many games he's played in the seasons. So he played 72 games his first season, so he only missed 10. But since then, he played 66, 48, missed a season, 57 games, and 43 games.
Those are what he missed?
Those are what he played.
Okay.
So every season, he's playing fewer games, it seems like.
Yeah.
He hasn't had a season where he played most of the season since his rookie year.
And it's always leg injuries.
It's
if it was
always
like
leg injuries.
Always.
if it was like at one point, like, oh, it was a shoulder injury, and then it was like, oh, then he broke his arm. Like, if it's like kind of stuff like that, well,
right,
then you just have like you're bound for injuries. But when you have that same reoccurring spot, at least when it's bouncing around injuries, you're just like, well, if I get injured, I get injured. I don't know what's going to happen next.
I think he needs to have a conversation with Blake Griffin.
Jesus. Yeah.
Wait, is Blake Griffin and Jesus the same person?
No. Oh no. Having the one of the most amazing dunks on one of the most one of the most affordable cars.
Anyways, I think him having a conversation with a player that had very high hopes, very high talent, very high expectations, and was set back a bit by injuries and is finding his way back. I think he needs to find that kind of headspace. And he needs to do it. He needs to do it now, because they're going to trade him.
Yeah.
And Mark Cuban is going to get an amazing deal, because somebody's
going to be willing to take the chance and give them a bunch of stuff.
I have never seen a owner do so many chances and have them succeed. I can't believe that man. That's why he's on
I
Shark
listen to
Tank.
what he says about the stock market.
Yeah.
I listen to anything he says about
Anything.
Okay, so now we're gonna get to the Eastern Conference right now. So we got the 1-8 Sixers Wiz. Embiid has gone to questionable. What can the 76ers accomplish, Shay, with Joel Embiid with a bum knee?
Whew. I mean, I still think that the Sixers, even if Embiid does sit a game out, I do think that they have a strong enough team to definitely finish off the Wizards. I mean, no offense to the Wizards. It's just I thought they were going to get eliminated already. I'm very confused. So it's just like, obviously we want Embiid, who is having like a really great season, to stay in the game. But if that doesn't happen, I don't think the Sixers are going to I think because they are so well-rounded as a team, and there is other players with so much potential and so much consistency. I think we'll see those shoes filled in, those very big Joel Embiid shoes.
Got some oversized shoes.
Yeah.
Well, and especially because they can split the playing, the responsibility. Whereas even what we've talked about with like the Nuggets and stuff, like Jamal Murray being out, there's not really like anybody but Jokic to really fill in that gap. While the Sixers have like a really well-rounded team to bring it home. And then again, we hope that Embiid would be able, if he is out, it's out temporarily, not for the rest of the playoffs.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think at this juncture, the Sixers can afford to lose Embiid for a game or two. There's nobody on the Wizards that they need him out there for, really.
Yeah.
It's not a matchup with the Bucks where Giannis has to be stopped. It's not a matchup with the Lakers where AD and LeBron have to be stopped. It's not the Nets where the big three have to be stopped. Right. I think they can afford to lose him and still get out of this series. What happens in the next series is another question. But for now, I think the Sixers are going to be fine.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry for not having those questions ready yet. Jeez, Jade, I feel called out.
Sorry.
I kind of regret having to ask you this question now because I feel attacked. Does Russell Westbrook have to be an automatic triple-double to produce? Oh, wait. Is he injured tonight, though? Injured.
Is he out?
Have they announced if he's out?
Oh, well, this is why we have robots in front of us.
Yep.
Right. I'm like, Google.
Westbrook. Oh, I put caps lock on. Russell Westbrook. Injury.
Is he injured?
I just saw a tweet from Woj about injuries, and
I don't think he's on the
not
list.
in it.
Yeah. Unless it's a game time decision, but
that was from the other day. Okay. But so does he have to do a triple double again?
Yeah, like every game. I mean, they had a game at the end of the season down the stretch where Beal had like 40 points and Westbrook had a triple double, and they still lost. Yeah, he has to.
That's just been though the Wizards season all year. Like Beal didn't he have like a 60-point game and they still
lost. The Wizards are another team where if they're able to hold on to Westbrook and Beal,
yeah,
it's just not their turn. If they can hold on to them and make some moves moving forward, but it's not their turn. It's not the Wizards' turn right now.
No. But yeah, 16% for shooting. Yeah, his shot is injured. That's a good joke.
And Bertans was just ruled out for 4 to 6 weeks. So one of a key player now is gone too. But be on the lookout for Daniel Gafford. He's going to be next year's Christian Wood. I'm calling it now. Next year's Christian Wood.
Ooh, someone write that down.
Yeah, someone mark this down. Next year. Yeah. But okay, so we got the next matchup. We got Celtics, Nets. I'm surprised this one's still going.
Same.
I haven't
So
even been watching this series. I'm not even gonna
So, okay.
I've been monitoring it. I have not been watching it.
Okay, so check this out. So the big three that last game had 104 points combined of the 140 points.
That's disgusting.
Do the Nets have to rely strictly on that talent, or is this team a little bit more balanced out than what we think? We just don't see it because the big three kill it. Harden did have 18 assists last night and only took 12 shots. So it's not so much him taking over.
Most of those assists went to Kyrie and KD. I have to.
I was going to say, who did those assists go to?
Yes, true. But Jay, do they have to rely strictly on the big three, or are we got some people on the bench?
I think they do. I mean, I think the bench is okay, it's serviceable, but I think they lost a lot of their depth, their real bench depth in the trades to get Harden to Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And I mean, you don't make that trade if you're not gonna hook your wagon to those three guys. Like, that's the whole reason to do that. So I think the fact that it's the three of them is exactly what we should be expecting. It's what we're going to need to be expecting throughout the playoffs. They all seem like they got healthy at the same time. They're so talented. Like, I think the Celtics are outgunned. I think the Eastern Conference is simply outgunned by the Nets.
I think it's great.
I think there's a chance that whoever comes out of the West might be outgunned by them too, as much as I hate saying that.
Of course. Don't worry, Nathan. We'll save that Wolves chat for later tonight when I'm over at your place.
Taylor needs to have his own Timberwolves show.
Yeah, that's right. Me and Nasty, we thought about it. Yeah, Nasty.
I would love that.
But Shay, is there any last-second Hail Mary play that Brad Stevens and the Celtics have left in them, or should they get ready to go fishing, as they say on TNT?
Cancun.
Yeah, no, they need to take some vacation time for themselves. No, the Celtics looked really discombobulated. Like, no, they're just not fun to watch right now.
And they're missing, is it Brown that's out? Jaylen.
Yeah,
Jaylen Brown. He's important.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys that, his stuff doesn't show up all over the stat line.
It's fine. We like the Wolves banter.
We like them. What he brings to the team doesn't show up all over the stat line, but I think it's obvious how needed he was the way that the series has gone. And like, there's no universe in which I expected the Celtics to beat the Nets. I thought it would be a little bit more of a contest.
I thought so too. Like, because again, it's playoff games.
But also, I am also the person that was like, the Boston is not all that. Even after last season, even after they eliminated the Raptors, I'm like,
no,
they are not all that. They have work to do. They have stuff to figure out. Jason Tatum cannot be counted on for 50 points every game.
No, exactly. Again, it's like the Luka situation.
Bag of
I'll
chips.
I'll give them the bag of chips, but the chips are supposed to go on the side with my sandwich. And there's
generic
no
Cool Ranch.
Where are we talking about chips?
All that in the bag of chips.
Oh, I was like very confused. I was like,
my old-timey lingo.
I got you. I mean, I am the old one though, so that makes sense.
I was like, are we all of a sudden on a food podcast? Like,
I mean, that can happen too.
I mean, yeah, we could probably talk food.
About. But you know what? We should talk about that Bucks and Heat series, because that one is done. It's over with, and it was crazy fast. So instead of talking about furthering the series, we'll talk about what each team should do now with it. Start with the Bucks. Shay, with this really long time between games, what should the Bucks be focusing on right now?
Giannis's free throws.
Damn, just right to it. No fat, nothing. Just right to that one.
Like,
You
how do
gave
you
no
even get in the
chance.
NBA and you have that bad, and then on top of that, you're like an MVP, 2-time winning MVP, and it just like, so it always stands in my way of like, I don't know. I just, something about the Bucks like bothers me. I don't know what it is.
I will say they look better than I thought they were going to look. The additions they made were more than I thought they were going to be, because at the time when the trade stuff was happening and they missed out on, who was it that was supposed to go there, and then it was like a whole big, the organization looked really bad.
See, Nathan agrees with me.
But it's true. The free throws are a problem. You cannot be the go-to guy on a team down the stretch in close games in the playoffs and not be able to sink your free throws.
Because then they're going to foul you every time.
You can't be losing free throws because it took you 14 seconds and the ball was still in your hands. And I've seen a lot of criticism that, like, oh, the ref shouldn't call that in a playoff game. If it was 11 seconds, whatevs. It was 14 seconds and he had just got down to shoot when that was called. I watched the replay and I counted. So, like,
Jade counted, Shay. She counted.
I counted it. You can't take, and besides the fact that it's against the rules, it gives him too much time to think. He is spending too much time, and he's psyching himself out. Your routine should be, I don't think a free throw routine should be more than 5 seconds, personally. It should be a rhythm. It's not about thinking. It's about repeating a motion and repeating a routine that you know works.
Exactly.
And he's not doing it right.
Yeah, I don't get how he hasn't worked on it but.
Hey.
Oh no, Nathan, what'd you do? What'd you do?
Feed her ego. Feed
it. Gosh, don't tell her about your pet. Oh, jeez. It's taken over a year to corral her now. Oh, geez.
Oh, you think I'm corralled? That's cute.
Right? That's impossible.
Okay, so Shay, what does Miami have to do to avoid this same thing next year?
That's a good question. I mean, because like I really thought that Miami was the better team, but I mean, they just.
I'm going to make a little bit of a prediction.
I
would not be surprised to hear in a few weeks that Jimmy Butler was playing hurt. You know, that happens sometimes where they don't make it public during the series because they're not making excuses, and Miami is that team. I don't see anything else that explains the performance from him. And Bam Adebayo as well did not have a good series. They needed him to have a good match. And the funny thing about that is that was one of the reasons, that matchup between Bam and Giannis was one of the reasons I picked the Heat in that series, because in one-on-one defense, Bam was the most successful against Giannis in their matchups during the regular season. And he just didn't show up. I don't know what happened. Tyler Hero didn't show up. Like, they played ahead of themselves, I think, last season. And, you know, again, shout out to Chaka because he called this one too. You know, they played over their heads last season, and now they have some self-examination to do as a team. I think the pieces are there.
I do too, and that's why it's really confusing.
Yeah, I think it's mental, like Nathan says. Like Nate says, it's.
I have heard that because of this series, Jimmy Butler is disgruntled, and he didn't do anything with his contract or something like that. So I'm like, oh, if he's disgruntled here and he gets out, okay,
come on,
now
Jimmy. You're hurting me, Jimmy.
At that point, it's his problem.
Yes.
At that point,
no, exactly.
Especially because he didn't show up. It would be different if he was Jimmy Butler, the way he was Jimmy Butler, and they still lost. I get being disgruntled.
Yeah.
I know too much about the Heat as an organization to be willing to back Jimmy. And like, I'm a Jimmy Butler defender.
You
We
are.
know this.
You are.
But like, if he's gonna take this stance and now he's upset, like, dude,
No,
Bruh.
right.
you didn't show up. This isn't just about the team. And like I said, I wouldn't be super surprised to hear he was playing through some kind of an injury. But if he wasn't, like, you're hurting me, Jimmy, because I've had your back and you're making me look bad.
Well, I think we should go to what we thought was going to be our favorite matchup of the entire playoffs, and it's been kind of a letdown. We got the Knicks versus the Hawks.
I'm still enjoying it.
I mean, it's
Yes,
you did, Nathan. You did. Yeah. I'll talk with you about it later when I get over for Buffalo Wild Wings. Yeah, we getting beat up. We getting beat ups tonight.
Ooh.
Yeah, we're gonna be watching the game for a little bit, or at least until it stops being interesting. But besides Randall, Jade, who in New York needs to step up right now?
RJ Barrett.
Yeah.
Barrett.
No question about it. He's got to get there. This series got more interesting today if people have been following the chatter, because Clint Capella said some stuff about how we come into your home and we're going to send you on vacation. That's a dangerous thing to do when the series is not over. I know they're down.
Do that.
But you're going into Madison Square Garden and you're gonna talk that before the game publicly. That is dangerous. If they lose, Clint Capella is gonna get roasted, and he deserves to. You don't give teams ammo like that.
But if they win,
I don't know, man. I think the Knicks, before that came out, I would have taken Atlanta. They play tonight, right?
Yeah. Right?
I would have took Atlanta tonight. No, they don't. Tomorrow.
No, they don't. It's Brooklyn Celtics, and then after that, it is Team A versus Team B.
Tomorrow, 7:30. So, like, if Clint Capella hadn't said that today, I probably would have taken the L, because I did pick the Knicks in the series and expect the Knicks to be finished. But the fact that he did that, I think there's always the chance that it gives an almost dead team life to talk like that in advance. Like, and to do it so far in advance of the game. The game's not till tomorrow at 7:30.
Yeah,
so they're going to have 24 hours plus to be thinking about this stuff Clint Capella said. And, like, you're not LeBron James, Clint Capella. Your team is not the Heat or the Lakers or I think we need to hire Nate to be like our official commenter for the show.
Right? Like, that is so good, because now I'm like picturing Thibodeau doing this.
I just also think of Mel Gibson at the end just going, freedom! Oh my gosh. But but Shay, are you surprised? So Atlanta's going up against one of the top defenses in New York. Are you surprised that they've been playing this well offensively against this great of a I looked at the Mia coach.
I know, I looked it on there a little longer because it's so good.
Are you surprised they're playing that well against this intensive a defensive team?
I mean, I always knew that Atlanta had the potential for this kind of offensive display, but I am a little surprised. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, because again, in a league where we've seen them when they don't have a defense against them, and they've kind of failed. They fell flat all season. So it's kind of like the opposite of what we saw with, like, Miami, in the sense of we didn't expect Miami to be the first ones out of the first round because all season they've played pretty well. They've been consistent, and then the people just didn't show up. And the Hawks are doing the opposite of that, which is great. And I like love watching this team. I think they're a really fun team to watch. I love Trey. And I mean, I think the issue with this series is that all the drama that came out of that first game set a really high bar for entertainment. And now we're like, okay, like, are y'all gonna do anything else like fun, entertaining? Like, is Spike Lee gonna, I don't know, like take his shirt off and like run around the court? Like, I don't know. I'm like waiting for some kind of like random like thing to happen. What?
The interesting thing I found about this series is that the comparison between Trae Young and Luka Doncic. I think it's clear that Luka's gonna have the statistically better career, but I think we might end up talking about Trae more in the long run. He has that big stage thing that makes us talk about players even if they haven't been as successful. Damian Lillard's a great example.
I was just about to say he's a young Damian Lillard.
Talk about him.
I can see it.
With this, like, what's he gonna do? And there's all this anticipation, even though he hasn't been to the finals. He hasn't been to a conference finals, I don't think.
No,
so,
Damian Lillard, he's been to a conference final.
He's been to a conference finals. But we still talk about them in these categories of these guys, and it's because of that X factor, and Trae Young has it in spades.
I want to mention also, we're talking about two sophomore players in Luka, or third-year players in Luka and Trae Young killing it. Shout out to DeAndre Ayton, the first overall pick from that year. He's playing amazing.
Great basketball.
And I see all-star future with him, and I'm excited about that because he deserves it. Well, speaking on to players or fans running on the court like Spike Lee, fans have sucked lately.
What the actual hell is going on?
So,
like,
I when I was seeing it, or when I was seeing some of it, I was just like, oh, this is a whole other level of just being awful.
Yeah.
So, of every situation so far, the culprits, I guess there was one, I can't remember the player, but their parents and their family.
It was John.
Okay, their family experienced racial slurs at them and just poor experience with it. Russell Westbrook got popcorn on him. Trae Young got spit on him. Kyrie Irving got something thrown at him. Who else? Oh, that one fan that just ran onto the court to try to touch the net and then just got full-on NFL blitzed hit by him.
Did you say the bottle for Kyrie Irving too?
Yeah, the bottle at Kyrie Irving. So all of these penalties have now ended up with the person who's banned from the arena, banned from any form of that franchise's event. Some of them...
The guy that threw the water bottle has been charged with a felony.
And
how dumb.
And same with the guy that spit on Trae Young.
Really?
I thought Trae wasn't going to press charges. He changed.
I did not hear that. So
okay, I heard the TNT guys. It might have been Kenny. One of them said he's a bigger man than me because I would have pressed charges.
Yeah.
So maybe that's been developed, but whatever it is, like. Why I don't understand why people think, you know what, like I would kill to be at a basketball game and I would behave. Like F you. And to spit on like the one that gets me the most, like they're all terrible, but to spit on somebody is such like just a visceral disrespect.
Yeah. So bad.
A person playing basketball couldn't possibly have done anything that warrants being spit on. Like, did you people lose your brains during lockdown too? Is this what happened? Like, you need to go home and find what little compartment you put it away in? Like,
that's what I was gonna say. Is it's like, do people like not know how to act in public after being quarantined? Like, apparently. You don't know how to be around other people anymore. Like, do we need to like send you back to kindergarten so you can learn to play nice? Like, I don't quite understand.
evidently, maybe that would help. Something has to help. Like, my mind absolutely will not wrap itself around it, even though, like, I wish I was more surprised.
Right.
But I'm not surprised that it happened. The thing that my brain gets stuck on is, what are they thinking? That, or how are they raised? Or, like, how do you get to a point where you think that this is acceptable social behavior?
Yeah.
Well, and then this brings up a question, since a lot of it has to deal with fans being right by the court. Should the fans be this close anymore? No other sport has this kind of situation.
NHL, they're behind boards. Football, they're way. Soccer, every other major sport, the fans are kept at a distance.
Right there, but.
And I get that it's fun. I get that's one of the exciting things. I get that's one of the draws. But, like, you have to protect the players. And you can't screen 10,000 people, 14,000, 15,000 people individually, right? You can't have a conversation with every person and figure out if they're potentially going to be, like, it's not feasible. It's not possible to do. Their only recourse is to back the fans off from the floors. And if this doesn't stop, like, I've said for a long time, I think the fans have too much access in basketball games. There's no reason for it.
I mean, it doesn't help. It's in New York. It's the Knicks fan base.
A few bad apples are going to ruin it for everyone, as is how things generally go.
Yeah, and that Utah one with Ja Morant, that one did not surprise me, since Utah fan. I'm not going to say all Utah fan base, but there been a bad history of it.
There's a couple fan bases based on their geographic locations that we know.
Exactly.
It happens. And we're not the kind of people as a group, as a podcast, we're not painting everybody with the same brush, but fan bases have personalities and we know who they are.
Surprised one in Boston pretty much happened. Yep. But I got a question, Shay. Is this an influx of it, or are we just catching it that we didn't before?
I think that we're seeing an influx. I mean, we've seen other things in other playoffs, but I think that right now, like, it can't just be things that we're not catching, because we find out about this stuff. When there's been other things that have happened, we know about it. It's news, because it is a conversation about, like, players' rights and this idea, because they're at work, like, they have work rights, and one of those is to be protected.
Yep.
And so,
World star.
And you look at how angry, like, Russell Westbrook got after, he's frustrated about the game. He's frustrated that he's now hurt. He's frustrated on so many levels. So, like, he deserves to have that space to himself and not have food thrown on him. Like,
right. And he's already not going to get a ton of space. He's in a filled arena. Exactly. He's going back to a locker room where there's coaches, there's assistants, his teammates are going to be back there. Like, he's already not going to get full alone time.
Exactly.
But it's like, imagine your worst day at work and then somebody comes and spits on you or throws food on you, or, like, why? Why do we think this is okay?
If that happened at our other jobs that we do, like, that it would just be uncalled for. And, like, honestly, if I got spit out, if I got spit on while I was a barista, like, you better know I would be pressing charges, or, at least hitting the person in the face after they spit on me. Like, I don't care how mad you are that I made your drink wrong, or, whatever. Like, you don't get to do that to people. And I think that sometimes, like, as fans, like, we do forget that this is their job, like, this is their career. And so we want to talk about, like, rights, and equal rights for everyone and all of these. Well, workers' rights is a big part of that. Mm-hmm. And, and we're seeing that when it comes to, like, I know it's not basketball, but with Naomi Osaka, who, like, is taking a break for herself because, like, she's allowed to have mental health breaks, like she's allowed to do things that are necessary. I mean, they lead a entirely different life in the spotlight. And so like if they need certain things, like the basic care that they can get is not getting spit on during a basketball game, aka while they're at work.
That should not be a thing anybody ever has to worry about while they do their jobs.
Exactly.
Ever.
Luckily, when I was doing research for this week and I was going on seeing people's reaction, I'd say about 90% of the people, 95% of the people were like, these guys are all jerks and stuff like that, which was great to see. And then that other 5% was just like, man, that's just work. You got to do it. And I was just like, one of the few times I would chime in on someone and be like, would you go to work and be cool with someone they just kind of spat in your face and then said a racial slur and walked away from you just like nothing happened? No, you'd be mad and you'd want some form of repercussion.
And you'd be right. You'd be right to want that.
Yeah. So if you were a player, if this happened, Jade, how would you feel about your fan base?
Fortunately, being part of a minority means that I've always been super aware of not painting everybody with a broad brush.
Right.
So I think I would be able to limit it to an individual or a small group. Like I think I have enough awareness that I would be able to not villainize the entire fan base, but I would not be happy. And I have some black girl looks that I've made men cower with. I would be whipping those out.
Okay.
No, and I think you make a good point though, because like the one thing that I always like really hate is when things happen, and I'm going to use the Jazz as an example only because it's happened several times, and then like it's not on like someone like Donovan Mitchell to be like, guys, that was bad. Like honestly, it's on other people in the fan base to hold them accountable. That's the way I see it, is because like if someone like if it turned out that like at an OKC game that kind of thing happened, I would immediately be like using my like platform on Twitter or, like some of the Facebook groups I'm in and talk about like why that's not okay, because like I'm part of the Oklahoma City fan base. You know what I mean? So like I'm in these spaces where I can have these conversations with other people, and it might be the person that did it or agrees that that's okay to do. So, I think it's really on the other people within each fan base to hold each other accountable and be like, no, you don't do that. Like, that's not a good look for us as a team, as a fan base, like, and that's fine. But I hate whenever players have to be the ones to speak out. Like, that always breaks my heart. Because again, it's like, you can't control all millions of people that support your basketball career. Like, that, if anything, like they represent you, and like that means that other people need to be holding those people accountable because they make everyone in the organization look bad. But players, I hate when they feel the need to like speak out. It's always so hard.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to have the opinion of it from the player.
Yeah,
but I think it shouldn't be completely on the player.
To
do
exactly.
It should be someone that maybe be involved with it, but it should not be the main thing. Last thing that I want to hit up that is going to be on the player side: Kyrie versus Lucky the Leprechaun. There was a quick little video of Kyrie doing a quick little scuff on the logo. And there's been a lot of Glenn Big Baby Davis, Kevin Garnett went off on it. I watched a clip earlier today from sports commentator Nick Wright. And at first he's just like, oh, I feel so bad for Boston fans and stuff like that. And he goes, what's that? It's a fictitious character that has no real purpose.
It's a drawing on a floor of a fictitious character. Like, if you don't trust your team enough that you think Kyrie stepping on your little leprechaun is going to have a negative effect on your team, you need to look at your team. And we already talked about Boston. The least of Boston's problems is Kyrie stepping on Mr. Leprechaun. Let's be real about that.
And let's also look at the two people that commented on it. Glenn Big Baby Davis, the one spot he had success really in his career. I guess he was okay in Orlando, but still his primary success. And Garnett still having his hard on for the 08 Celtics. Like,
I mean,
I love you, Garnett.
It's tradition at the collegiate level for teams to kidnap each other's living animal mascots.
Right.
So like to make this big of a deal over stepping on a leprechaun that literally comes up with the floor when they take the floor out. Like, come on.
Also, they literally run on his face.
They run all over it. They do the jumps on top of it. Like,
right, like scuffing doesn't do anything.
I saw that and I had to hear your guys' take on it. So
I mean, I don't love Kyrie, obviously. I think he probably did it because he knew it was going to get the Boston has given Kyrie exactly what he wanted out of this.
Exactly
what he wanted. First of all, so who last laugh? Kyrie's got the last laugh on this, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, pretty much. All right, so been doing some real hard hitting stuff today. It's been, I think, pretty great with it all. We got a real meaty episode for it. Thanks, Nathan, for causing Nasty Nate for making us laugh and everything. Okay.
And Kevin.
Oh yeah, and Kevin too. Kevin too. Can't forget the trustworthy Kevin. He's always here helping us out. So we got the first round talk, and we got to talk about how fans are being complete turds with things opening up again. So one last thing though before we hit to the fast break, and I forgot to do it at the beginning because I always do for some reason. Follow us on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Hardcourt Hunnies, and at Twitter at HC Hunnies. Okay, yeah. So we got that plug in. So now it is time for the fast break where I come up with 3 questions and Shay and Jade have no prior.
We have a couple name now,
right? Yeah. That's fine. That's fine. I like it.
Jade, I gotta pull up some pictures to make sure I'm doing things right with stuff.
That was such a fun episode. I kind of forgot about the fast break. This is like
me too.
Now.
I was like, oh yeah, I love playoffs.
Okay, so fast break. First question: Shaq and Penny versus Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid in prime.
Shaq and Penny.
Yeah.
In prime.
Like, I know you have to think about that.
Shaq and Penny for both of you?
Yeah. I think that Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid share a mental, I don't know if I want to call it immaturity, or like they both have the ability to get lost at any given time mentally.
Right.
And I think Embiid has grown a lot over the last year. I don't think he's fully over that. I think Shaq and Penny in their prime, especially because it was a harder league. I think talent-wise, they were probably in their primes pretty comparable. I think it's the mental stuff that's why I would take Shaq and Penny.
Shay, you agree?
I agree too, because just like also Shaq's strength, I think you can't compare that to like anything Embiid or Simmons brings. It's just a whole different, like he's so strong. Like what?
Okay, so this next question I got from a tweet that Parker, our good friend Parker, retweeted from Justin Phan, Phan. Hopefully I said it right. Points scored in the Bucks Heat series. Jimmy Butler, 58 points.
In the whole series?
Yes. Bryn Forbes, 60.
Who's Bryn Forbes?
Which performance is more shocking?
Ooh.
Shay, 60 points from Bryn Forbes or 58 from Jimmy?
I mean, oh, this is hard because it's like I'm like looking up Brent Forbes right now because I want to say Jimmy only because like I expected him to do well, but I always want to celebrate when players that are a little bit less known like do better than big name players. So I'm gonna go with Forbes.
Bryn Forbes is a product of the Greg Popovich system, so usually
Right.
they morph into any team when they go for the rest of their career. They may not be amazing, but they have a long career.
Yeah, and I mean his regular season he averaged like 10 points per game with 19 minutes. So like he wasn't a bad player, but I mean the fact that he scored more than Jimmy Butler, like I would be throwing that stat around for the rest of my life. Like
Seriously.
Especially the playoffs. This is the regular season. This is the playoffs.
Yeah. I gotta
True.
I gotta go with Jimmy.
Jimmy?
I think like Jimmy is meant to be the heart of that team. He's meant to be the engine. He's meant to be the guy. And barring hearing that he was playing through some kind of injury all series,
Right.
He had to be the guy. He had to show up, and he didn't, and it's a problem.
Okay, so we got one Butler, one Jimmy. One Butler, one Brent. Oh man, that's what happens when you get this long of episode. Okay, last one is going to be a little bit. So we're going to do player you build around, the team that the rest of the roster team following that player, and then the location that you would have it. And I'll giving you some options. Okay, so for the player you would build around, I have KD, Jokic, Harden, LeBron, or Luka.
Ooh.
And then for
right now or prime?
Prime.
Okay.
All right. So roster. And that's this current roster for this one.
Okay.
Hornets, Kings, Cavs, Magic.
Oh God.
You put on your mad scientist hat for this question this week. Hornets, Kings, Cavs. What was Orlando? You said, Magic.
Yeah. Hold on.
Gross. I don't like this at all. I'm gonna take LeBron because how can you not take prime LeBron?
Oh, there's still one more part.
Oh, there's one more part.
Location. Leg cramp. I don't know how this is happening. I don't know how this is happening right now, but it is. Okay, location. 4 spots. Seattle, Vegas, Hawaii, or Mexico City.
Ooh.
Okay, I got mine.
Okay.
I'm taking LeBron James with the Hornets in Seattle.
In Seattle. Okay. Shay?
Wait, it was Kings, Hornets, Magic, and who?
Cavs.
Oh.
That's about right.
I think that was the last option for everyone. Cavs, damn.
Right.
No.
It was.
Yeah.
Oh, think about a LaMelo LeBron. Good choice, Jade. Ooh.
Thank you.
I know. That's why I'm like, well, I'm trying to think of like chemistry. This is a hard question. Like,
oh my gosh, this leg cramp right now.
Still?
They're gonna need to carry me out like Paul Pierce.
Okay, I'm gonna say Jokic with the Kings and Mexico City.
Mexico City, fun. I like that Mexico City answer. Shout out to you, babe. Love ya. Soon enough, we'll be together. But okay, today's been great. We had fun with the conversation. We got to talk about how crappy people can be right now as we are coming out from all this COVID stuff. But I still had fun with it all. Did you guys have fun today?
Yeah, a lot of fun.
And a nice meaty episode. Well, on that note, I'll bid you adieu for it, and then see us next time. Look on Twitter and all other social media for next episode. Adios.